Hey, what's happening, YouTubers? We're back with a brand new action figure review, and today we're going to take a look at the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Martian Manhunter Gold Label exclusive and Target exclusive. Now, I'm glad I waited to purchase a Martian Manhunter from McFarlane Toys just because I do like that DC Rebirth look, but I prefer the classic look better, and I'm glad I waited because it paid off, because here we are with our definitive classic Martian Manhunter from McFarlane Toys. But without further ado, like we always do with the reviews, let's get started with the box art first. So on the top left-hand corner has that gold label exclusive tag to let you know it's an exclusive. And then on the bottom, you see the DC Multiverse logo, Martian Manhunter. And then on the side of the box, it's got your DC Multiverse logo on the top, McFarlane Toys logo on the bottom, Martian Manhunter in the middle. And this is cool. It says DC Classic. So I'm wondering and hoping at some point McFarlane Toys gives us more definitive classic characters. And then on the back, you see the full image artwork of the figure, Martian Manhunter DC Classics. That's enough about all of that. Let's go ahead and get Martian Manhunter out of the box. Alright, here's Martian Manhunter out of the box. Let's get started with his accessory basics that he comes with. So first things first, this DC base plate that you see with every McFarlane Toys figure, not just DC Multiverse figures, and the DC logo right there. And then, of course, he comes with the trading card as well, and it's just an image of the figure in like a space background. And then on the back is a little data file on Martian Manhunter. Feel free to pause it if you want to go ahead and read it. All right, now let's look at the figure itself, and we get started with the head sculpt first. So when it comes to Martian Manhunter, he's a pretty simplistic design. So I think they nailed the likeness to the character in the comics pretty well. If you can kind of see closely right there, there's a nice shading around the eyes, I should say. Nice painted details right there. And then also, you can kind of see different shading under his jawline. So they did a fantastic job sculpting the head and painting it. But when we take a look at the rest of the figure, one thing I'll say is I don't really like this collar piece. It's not like one consistent piece with the cape. And I understand the reason for that is essentially they're using the same cape from the other version of Manhunter, which didn't have the collar piece. So they essentially just sculpted a new piece and just stuck it on there. Not really a fan of that. I wish it would have just been actually sculpted or molded with the cape itself, because it just kind of looks weird how it's just like flapped up like that. And yeah, just tiny little nitpicking things, but overall I think the design looks good. And we'll take a look at the centerpiece right here. It is a rubber material, so there are no restrictions, so it's easily movable and posability, so you shouldn't have too many restrictions. It should be okay. And I'm glad they did that as opposed to making it molded on the body and having a cut. But as you all know, Todd, I don't like the cuts. The cuts aren't good aesthetically, but it looks good overall. And as you can see on the ball joint on the wrist, it is molded. It's not a tennis ball. And it is molded so it can kind of fit aesthetically with the whole arm, so it looks like one consistent, joint. And I'm glad they're doing that, and you've always heard me saying this like in all my reviews now, just because it's sculpted on there. So it's cool. And same thing applies to the ankle ball joints. It is sculpted so it matches the boot, and I think this looks better aesthetically. It looks more consistent than the wrists do, more so. But yeah, I think that they're definitely making strides and making the figure look aesthetically better, in my opinion, considering where the figure line was 2 years ago. Taking a look at articulation, his head can move from side to side. It tends to go down a lot. Now, the thing is, you don't want to move the head too far up or else it'll just pop off. The arm has that faux butterfly joint in there, which is pretty nice. There are bicep swivels on both sides, double jointed elbows, which can get a nice range. Yeah, there is the wrist joint, like I mentioned, the ball joint, which is sculpted now, and it doesn't look ugly. And of course, he has the diaphragm cut and the waist articulation as well. The legs can go that far out. Double jointed knees, which can get about like that, and also articulation in the ankle as well. Now, no thigh cut, but it does get a nice range. And I just want to mention something out there. When you're posing figures, for any action figure photographers out there, toy photographers, or ACBA photographers, somebody said it best: please bend the knees when you pose your figures like that. When you pose figures like this, it just looks stupid. I'm sorry. That looks dumb to me when you pose your figures like that. Bend the knees, y'all. Bend the knees. All right, now we're going to jump right into size comparisons. And first size comparison, here's Martian Manhunter standing next to a couple Action Comics 1000 figures from McFarlane Toys. We have the Action Comics 1000 Superman and the Action Comics 1000 Blue Variant Batman. So he does scale pretty well, and we're slowly building our classic Justice League team right now. And next size comparison, here he is, and next a couple Marvel Legends figures. We have the retro carded Thing and the retro carded Vision. And the reason for choosing these two specific characters was because during the 90s, during the comic book crossover event for Marvel vs. DC, there is a panel that features Martian Manhunter versus The Thing. And also just fans over the years have made the comparisons how Vision was a copy of Martian Manhunter. And now for a random ass size comparison, but still keeping it within the McFarlane Toys brand, here he is sitting next to a couple of My Hero Academia figures. We have Deku, Not Todoroki, and Ochako.
My shit in heart.
Alright, some overall thoughts on the figures. It's a really good figure, with the exception of that collar piece on the cape. I don't really like it aesthetically just because it's a separate piece and it's supposed to be one consistent piece. But I get it. You know, it's a good reuse of the DC Rebirth figure to get us a classic version, and I can't harp on it enough. I'm glad that they're starting to sculpt those ball joints so it looks more consistent with the figure. It doesn't look like ugly tennis balls sticking out just to attach a piece on there. So I'm glad they listened to criticism of that. I think a thing now that we have to kind of stress, and hopefully they'll listen to fans' criticism and feedback on, is more additional accessories. So this figure I feel like could have definitely benefited from 2 fisted hands and 2 open hands, but that's just my opinion. Let me know what you all think. And also, if they weren't going to throw accessories with this figure, I at least wish they would have thrown a flight stand since this character is also known for flying. But yeah, it's nice to see we're starting to get classic looks for the DC Multiverse line, like a classic Martian Manhunter. And as you all seen recently, there was a leak for a Shazam figure. Even though it's not a classic Shazam, it pretty much looks like one. But I also want to call something out here. And I'm starting to notice a bunch of Marvel Legends collectors. I'm a huge Marvel Legends collector. It's my bread and butter. But I've noticed a lot of collectors always saying when McFarlane Toys acquired the license, when are they going to give us a classic this, a classic that? I think you should turn around and look at your collection and say, how long did you have to wait till they finally gave us a classic Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America? 11 years after having the license, they finally gave us a classic-looking figure. So I think them giving us a classic Martian Manhunter after 3 years of owning a license is pretty damn good in my opinion. And also, another thing, I'm also starting to notice now, a bunch of Marvel Legends-based channels starting to review DC Multiverse figures. I think it's kind of funny considering they're the ones shitting on the product to begin with. But that's none of my business. I'm just saying. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, YouTubers, on this figure. Will you be picking it up? Because I think it's still available on the Target website. And depending on your area, you can do pick up in store, or they'll have it shipped to you. So sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And like always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.